thing that we understood in the landfill, none of you will be able to even want to compost, or would want to take that step as home composting, trying to reduce the amount of waste that's going out of your house. So in the landfill, what really happens is truckloads of waste get dumped, because there is just enough space for it to start climbing like a mountain, and they all get compacted. And when there is compaction, when there is no air that is going into something, then the organic matter that we discharge, they start to break down in anaerobic conditions. And when that happens, there's a deadly gas called methane that gets released, which is 20 times or 25 times more, stronger or more potent than carbon dioxide. And this gets into the air, and it's constantly coming out of these landfills. And the second thing that really happens is these landfills, they're because of the decomposition of the organic waste that we throw out of our homes, that is our kitchen waste, the wet waste. There is the anaerobic digestion releases a kind of water. It's like a fluid that comes out. It's very strong and dark in color, black in color, and that is released off these. They run off like rivers, and then they are not held, so they enter into the soil, contaminating the soil, and they also enter into the groundwater, which is common everywhere. Groundwater is connected somewhere or the other, and the soil around gets contaminated. And most of these landfills, they have villages around which are growing our food. Actually, the outskirts is where our food is grown, and these villages have our food growing there, and that it makes it like the food that gets contaminated comes back to us. The water that gets polluted comes back to the air that that gets all the methane that releases and other gases that release, it get polluted, and we are breathing that. So somewhere what we're throwing out is coming back to us, and the landfill is highly contaminating. So having understood that, I took a resolve that I will not send my wet waste, because that's the one which is harming, and I will segregate my waste. I'll make sure that I'll send it for recycling, and I'll lessen the burden on the municipality and on the landfill. On my part, this is what I can do. So that's where my journey started on how I start composting. And the first attempt was a terrible mess. So one thing I always tell everybody, that it's okay to fail. It is all a learning curve, and composting is not a big rocket science or something that's very difficult for us to understand or learn. It's a simple practice. It's a daily practice. It's a practice that makes you one of the champions for this planet, to contribute better for this planet. So if you look at the general waste that we have, 60% of what we generate from our home, what we release from our home, is organic waste that is coming from our kitchen. It's our peels, it's our vegetable peels, it's our fruit peels, what we eat. These are food that we have eaten. It's not waste at all. I don't consider this waste, because this is something that we have eaten, and these are the things that we generate every day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. We Indians, we love cooking fresh, and all the time it's coffee powder, it's like eggshells. Everything that it comes out of the kitchen is great resource that should be converted into adding on to the soil, which makes it the living soil, because you're putting organic matter back into the soil, and that becomes a living soil. And that's where we need to grow our food today. With so much of chemical farming that's happening, there is so much of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, so much being put. There's so much of poison on our plate. So, and we have moved away from natural farming methods. Natural farming method is nothing but putting organic matter back into the soil, making the soil a living soil, full of life. It's alive. And this is where we need to grow our food, because that's what nourishes us. When the soil is nourished, then only we get nourished. So whatever comes off a nourished soil is what we are supposed to eat. But most of us have forgotten. We just go the cheapest food that's available. If he gives 1 kg, something, and gives 1 kg free, we will go and grab it. Why? Because it's so cheap. And that's, you don't know what kind of how it was grown and what kind of toxicity is there in that food. So it's best to understand. First, my journey is about composting. Then I understood what is food. What is the food that we are supposed to put into our bodies. So I'll take you through, because it's a completely a home composting method. I'll be only touching base on what you can do at home. We are all in urban spaces. Most of us have limited space. So what you can do in your balcony or in your terrace or with maybe under a staircase, so little spaces that you have, you can still start to compost. And composting is just breaking down organic matter in a particular process. We need to understand there is a process. The breakdown it takes some time. A lot of people sell machines saying 24-hour composting machines. In 24 hours, you'll get compost. That's absolutely incorrect, because no composting, it's a natural process. No composting can happen in 24 hours. So it's just burning waste. So don't fall prey for all such things. If somebody is approaching you and telling you we'll start composting large scale and we'll put these machines, just don't fall prey to it. That's one of the cautions we as SWMRT always tell people. So as I told you, it's breakdown of organic matter. So what are the things that you need to remember to understand the process? So the final product is this amazing magical compost that you put in your soil, and it's the best thing that you can do. You're completing the cycle. You're generating the kitchen waste, and then you're converting it into something to put into your soil, and you're completing, and then you grow something, eat, again put. So the cycle of that life, of that whatever is the waste that you produce, is finished within your home. And you're not only saving resource, but also you're learning how to grow your food. So this is a natural instinct in every human, I think, to grow something to eat, to feed ourselves. And there is a farmer hidden in each of us, and all of us can grow food. So that's something that I understood, and I learned that I can grow whatever I want, as long as I make soil, and I make the soil with the compost that I make. So let's take you through some 3 to 4 methods of composting, if time permits. The first one that I would look at is a simple, composting with things that are available in your house and around your house. All the peels are available in your house, and dry leaves, which are very important for composting, which are the browns, are available outside. So if you need to compost, there are 5 things that you need to remember. There are only 5 things to get a grip on composting. These 5 things are the greens, the browns, the microbes, oxygen, and the container. So if you get these 5 together, then you get a grip on composting, and then you hone the skill by continuously experimenting with it. You don't give up once you get a challenge. Okay, that composting can throw a lot of challenge to a lot of people, but there is a very good cause why you're composting. There is a reason why you're composting. That should always be in front of you, that I compost because I don't want to discharge something out of my house which will harm my environment, or maybe I compost because I can create great soil and I want to grow my food. So one of the reasons which is very close to you, you can look at that and start the journey of composting. As the 5 things, the first is the greens. It's high in nitrogen, and it's highly wet. It has a lot of moisture. That's our kitchen waste. It could be fruit peels, it could be vegetable peels, coffee, tea powder. It could be anything that we have eaten, including the seeds of a mango or the core of a corn. So even these will compost, but over a period of time. It takes longer time than this to, a cucumber peel to break down. So we need to understand this is because this is high in moisture and it's rich in nitrogen. This releases a lot of water. So the first tip that I want to give you is, every time you collect your kitchen waste, make sure that you put it in a basket like this, or a colander, so that you drain the eggs. You can see how much of water, because today morning what I chopped was high in water. It was papaya, muskmelon and watermelon. So because of these extra water, you don't want extra water in your compost. You must remember always that compost means it's a balance of, it has to be in balance. It shouldn't be too wet. It shouldn't be too dry. If it's too wet, then at the bottom, you'll get a liquid like this called the leachate. That will make it very soggy and moist, and then it starts to smell, right? Because it compacts the matter at the bottom. So you best is to remove the excess water. You can put it to your plants that still has so much of nutrients. And then you remember that the next thing is the browns. Browns are, you have different things that you can add as browns. The best thing that I would want or recommend or take is the dry leaves. These are found in plenty. They are all around our homes where there are trees. So you pick them up, because this is an amazing resource. This is high in carbon. This is something that people burn causing more pollution, because they don't want, even in their lawns, they don't want dry leaves around. They just sweep the dry leaves. We want the dry leaves out. Either you put them together and burn them, or you cart them away to the landfill. So this is something that we need to collect and we need to save, because leaves have to be saved to convert it and put it back into the soil. And this is the one which absorbs the excess moisture from the greens. So browns and greens are very important. These both are the C-N ratio. We call the carbon and the nitrogen ratio. So both are very necessary for a good soil, to build a good soil. So the browns can also be coco peat. So we have the coconut fiber. The dust from the coconut fiber is the coco peat. So you can use coco peat. You can use sawdust. Sawdust also can be part of the brown. If you don't find anything, the last thing that I would recommend is, cardboard, because this is important for it to go for recycling. I would always want to send this to recycle, but not to compost it, because we can always collect leaves. But if you want to start today and you don't have leaves, you can add cardboard. So cardboard is the last resort, because we cut down trees from the pulp, we make paper and cardboard, and this should always go back to making, into the paper industry. It should never get lost by burning or by composting. So that's the browns. So browns is the second part. The third is the microbes. So in the natural world, whatever you throw, I throw the fruit peels into the soil. After a week or 10 days, you don't find it, because it becomes a part of the soil. The microbes in the soil or in that area completely break it down, and this is like, becomes a part of the soil there, nourishing whatever grows there. But if we are doing home composting, I live in a flat, I live in the third floor, and I have a terrace, I have balconies. So how do I introduce microbes? The soil is great. You can, even a good soil, a moist soil with a lot of organic matter in it. Suppose under a tree, you find leaves have, started to rot. Leaves have started to rot. Even if you pick up that moist soil there with all those rotten leaves, they have enough microbes to kickstart your composting. The second thing that you could look at is buttermilk, sour buttermilk. You leave curds out for a couple of days and that becomes very sour. That you can add a little bit of it, that you can add to your compost. And I mean, when you're to the process, and then that starts to, multiply, and it starts to increase the microbial content. So there are also, cow dung is another thing, very favorite of mine. Whenever I can get hold of a good desi cow dung, I welcome it. So this is again another thing that you can add to your composting process to enhance the microbial, it's only to accelerate. You're going to accelerate the composting, because most people, when they start to compost, they ask this question: when will my compost be ready? When will that black gold be ready? So you want to, get to that early. You need to put enough microbes, right? So you adding cow dung is another. Today, in stores, you have store-bought accelerators. I've made bioenzymes, so I can spray bioenzymes on my composting process, and that adds microbes. You have EM solutions. So there are different things that you can add to your compost to increase the microbial colony in that, so that the breakdown happens very fast. So that's the third one, that is microbes. So we finished the greens, the fresh waste. We finished the browns, that these are dry leaves and other alternatives, and we finished the microbes. The fourth thing is oxygen. We are all anaerobic creatures, and this is an aerobic, we are all aerobic creatures, and this is an aerobic process. That is, every microbe that is breaking down your organic waste are breathing creatures. They need oxygen. They are aerobic in nature, like us. So if they stop breathing, if there is no oxygen, then they perish and it becomes anaerobic. And that's where the smell comes. So introducing oxygen into the pile is extremely important. So you either have holes around the container that you take, or you turn the pile once in few days. Don't turn it every day, but once in 4 to 5 days, if you give it a turn, then you're introducing, in the lower parts of your composting process, you're introducing oxygen. So this becomes extremely important. So most of the people, when they say it started smelling, either you put too much of wet waste and it became too dense and too soggy, and air didn't pass. That's why it started smelling. So you have to understand both. You can't put too much of, you must have the balance between the carbon and the nitrogen. that is the browns and the greens. And also you should make sure that oxygen is introduced once in a while so that they all thrive and they do their job, to give us that compost that we are looking out for. So that's the fourth one. And the last one is the container itself. So in today's, living, where we live in flats and smaller places, what kind of containers? So there are different kinds of containers. One of them is, you can use is, a terracotta container. This is a sample. So you get terracotta containers. You can use mud pots, whichever you think is good or available in your house, you can do. And also you can use a bucket. You can take a paint bucket. Make sure all of them have good lids, right? They should have good lids. And if you can put some holes on top, it will be always good, because it keeps the air going in and out, so that it keeps it breathing. So that's important. So container could be anything of your choice, whatever you think is available at your home. If you want to purchase something, you can go ahead. So you can start off with simple buckets also. And one more thing is, you make sure that your container, when you close your container, another problem with people have with composting is, they say, I had a lot of maggots in my composting, because these soldier flies have gone in and laid eggs. And when I open my compost and I see, creepy crawlies, and I freak out. So they don't want that. So if best is, another tip that I'll give you is, take any, netting material or something like that. Make sure that it is closed well, so that they don't enter your compost pile. The black soldier fly, actually, they're very good for your composting. I let the maggots be, because for me, they're doing a job, because they are a part of the ecosystem there, and they are feeding, on my food waste, and actually doing the job faster than I would want the microbes to do. So it's okay, but many people are not okay with maggots. So best is to make sure that you cover it with a net or something, and then make sure these black soldier flies don't go inside to lay their larvae. Right? These are the 5 things that you need to understand. Don't leave your compost bin or your container outside in the rain, because when the rainwater gets in, it becomes very soggy. So you have to watch the balance. Composting is always about the balance. It's like cooking. When you cook, you need to get the right balance of everything. Same way, compost also needs the same balance, that it shouldn't be too wet, it shouldn't be too dry. If it gets too wet, that means you put too much of fresh waste, that is the nitrogenous wet waste. And if it is too dry, then you have less of watery waste, and it's more of dry, the browns. So you need to get the balance, and that will come. I can't tell you how much to put as proportion, but you will get it as in how you try, and as in how you experiment with composting. So go ahead and make it like an experiment. So I'll just show you one small demo on that composting. So you take the bucket, always line the bucket first with some dry leaves, or some, the coconut fiber dry leaves, so that any excess moisture, it absorbs. So you take your wet waste, take the wet waste, so this is another tip I want to give you all. I don't layer them, but I mix them. So I take my wet waste. So make sure you chop them as much as possible. If there is a watermelon which is long, make sure you chop them smaller. Then you add the dry leaves. So you add the dry leaves, and I give it a mix. And as I'm mixing, I add the accelerator. So this is simple sour buttermilk that you just add a little bit. If you have cow dung, you can add cow dung. If you have EM solution, you can add if you have good soil, that is the soil that is having some organic matter, you can bring that and put, and give it a nice turn. When you mix the organic waste with organic matter with the leaves, the leaves start to absorb the excess moisture and keeps the pile breathing. So that's very important, that it does not compact. Because if I just put one layer of organic matter and then put the leaves on top, the middle part will start to break down, and that becomes very soggy. So best is to give it a nice turn. This is food I ate. Don't worry about touching it. It's not garbage at all, because it's something that I've eaten, and this is amazing resource which I am trying to make it into an amazing soil. So give it a nice mix, and then you drop it into your compost. Then you put it into your bin, whichever, after lining it with some dry leaves. So you put it like that. It's so light, and it's not it's mixed with, so you can even put these. They won't break down in the first round, so you need to keep taking it back into another round all the time. So till it completely breaks down, you can keep putting it back. So you just mix, add. So you do this every day. So you have removed the extra moisture by draining the vegetables, and you're adding your dry waste into this. So you will not have any problem. And once it's filled up, if you don't want to attract any fruit flies, you just add some more dry leaves on top, right? And this you continue. This is a small bin, it's got filled up already, but your bin will fill up maybe on the 10th day, depending on how much you generate. 10th day, 15th day, 20th day, you don't know. So then you keep mixing it once in 4 to 5 days, so that the lower parts don't get compacted. So you give oxygen to the lower parts. So it's as simple as that. Make sure you close it well, not leave it out in the rain. It should be in some place where there is it is kept away from rain. So this is the simplest form and the easiest and a zero cost composting that you can do. So, and then when we as SWMRT, when we launched one of our campaigns, after we launched two bin one bag, you all must go and check out our website, swmrt.com, and then we have Swachhagraha. This Swachhagraha, when we launched, we looked at how we can simplify and make it easier for people to start composting. So now I showed the first method, that's done. Now the second method is about making it easy and getting more and more people involved in composting. So what can we do to make it simple for them? Many people will tell, where do I get dry leaves? I have to collect it. Where do I store? So we came up with a kit. When we launched Swachhagraha, we wanted it to reach to lakhs of people. And how do we do that? So we use social media, Facebook, and we had our YouTube videos and all that. And we looked at introducing a kit. The kit was about giving them an easy access to things that they will find difficult. Most people give reasons. So we introduced a brick. This is a coco peat brick. This brick has 10 different kinds of microbes. So the 5 things that I talked about, the greens, the browns, the microbes, the oxygen, and the container. So the browns and the microbes together become one here. So we have both here. That is the microbes and the browns. And this, when you soak it in water, it becomes a powder like this. You see, this is the hard part, and it will take in water and it becomes a powder like this. And this powder, we just need to layer it. And also in the kit, we explain that you take any bucket, you do it yourself, make several holes, small tiny holes, so that it stays breathing. Again, you put dry matter, some dry leaves or some coconut fiber at the bottom, so that again any moisture is there, it will deal with it. And then the first layer, because this has 10 different kind of microbes, this is fantastic. It does not smell. It is easy because people have to only do layering, right? This is a layering method. So you take one handful of depending on what kind of container you have, you take it and you spread it at the bottom on top of the dry leaves, right? And then you take the kitchen waste. You should always divide. You can't dump all your kitchen waste. If you have one bucket of kitchen waste, you cannot dump it in. You need to layer it. So what you do is take one handful and spread it. One handful and spread it around, right? Once you spread that, you spread it around, 1 or 2 handfuls you take and spread it around. And then you put one more layer of this coco peat powder, which has 10 different kinds of microbes. So you cover it with that. You just cover it. So like that, you divide yours. If you have this much of waste, you divide it into layers. And each layer, you have to put the coco peat in between and close it. next day again same process, bring it. So this makes it very easy, because once this is filled up, in 30 days time this is ready, this compost will be ready. But when I do the traditional method, it takes 40-45 days for you to, once you fill up. Anytime when you're looking at composting, you must always have in in pairs. You must have containers in pairs, because when you do the first container, when you finish with the first container, so it may take, many people, big families may take 10 days, small families it may take 25 days to fill it up. So once it's full, then you move to the second, and you keep the you watch the moisture balance, make sure that you're doing everything that I have told you. And then it takes, with the first method, it takes 45 days for it to completely become that black gold, and in this method it takes 30 days. So that's the difference. It makes it easy for people. You have to only order that brick online. So if you go to our Swachhagraha website, we have a vendor page where all this is listed. So that's, if you want it easy, you can do it. It's simple, and many people prefer that, because people are busy, they don't have time. So it resolves all those issues that people have. So that's the Swachhagraha method. That's the second method. And I would like to do one more method, that is the Bokashi. That's an anaerobic, and also about vermicomposting. How can we compost with earthworms in our homes in small boxes? I'll take you through that. I think we have time. I'll quickly do I won't do a demo, but I'll talk to you all about what is anaerobic composting. So many people say, I have non-veg waste. What do I do with non-veg waste? How do I take care of non-veg waste? Because mostly in aerobic systems, we don't put non-veg waste, because pathogen problems, it may attract some kind of vermins, because of the rotting smell. So, but in the second method that I showed about the Swachhagraha method, that will definitely take care, because there are 10 different kinds of microbes that takes care of small pieces of. I'm a vegetarian, so I have no experience, but most of people who have used it say that it takes care of it. The microbes are very good. They break it down, and we don't get any smell and all that. So there is one more kind of composting called the Bokashi, or the anaerobic kind of composting. This is the pickling method. So there is a bin which has a tap. This method is again something many people prefer who don't have spaces, because this is an indoor composting. You can keep it inside your home, and and keep it in your kitchen. It just gets a fermenting smell when you open. Otherwise, it has no issues at all. And there are two parts, two phases to it. First is the pickling stage, and the second is where you are actually converting into compost. It's actually breaking down happens only there. Otherwise, it's a fermenting method. Bokashi means fermenting. So it is a fermenting method. So there is a drain. You need to put a basket to drain out the water, because as I told you about the landfill, when anaerobic action happens, there is a lot of leachate that comes out. There is this dark fluid that comes out of these. So the same way, we will be collecting leachate, which is actually very nourishing. It's not it's something that we can spray with, dilute it and spray. It's good for your plants. There is a lot of nutrients in that. So we need to just keep putting. There is also a Bokashi powder that you get. It's called the bran. This bran has this is all ready made. People make bran at home also. This Bokashi bran is the one we need to sprinkle on top. So what we do is we put a small newspaper at the bottom, and then you put the bran. You put 1 spoon of bran on that, and then put a little bit of your kitchen waste. Press it down. See, it's exactly opposite to your aerobic composting. Aerobic composting, you need air, you need oxygen, you need it to breathe like us. But in an anaerobic composting, you need to make sure that air doesn't go into it. You have to press it down. So when you press it down, and then you sprinkle this Bokashi powder, this powder that I showed, you sprinkle on top, and then you close the lid and keep. So this way, every day you can put your waste, press it down, then put the Bokashi powder, and then you continue that till the bucket gets filled up. Once the bucket fills up, leave it for fermentation. It takes maybe 2 to 3 weeks to completely ferment, and everything is becomes soft and soggy. There is a smell that will come every time you open. It's the fermenting smell. It's like when you open a pickle, which is strong smelling. It's like that, because there is pickling happening, fermentation is happening. And then the liquid that comes out of it, I will drain. Actually, I can't pick up my bin, which is can you come? 1 second. I want to show the inside now. So the pickling happening, you can see white fungus. This is a sign. It's a great sign. I have a presser which I press and keep. So you can see this white fungus is a great sign that pickling is happening, fermentation is happening. And I'll show you how I will drain the. You can see there's a liquid that's coming out. This is the. This liquid is something that every person who does bokashi looks forward to, because this is something that you dilute it 1:50. They are young plants 1:80, and then you spray. It's like you're giving them a boost, and the leaves will. It's high in nitrogen, and leaves will just become larger, and your plants will look greener. So most people who do bokashi, they're looking for this liquid that will come, the bokashi liquid, and this smells a little acidic because it is fermentation, but it's a wonderful plant. Foliar spray, you can put it for the soil. So this is the bokashi method. And once the fermenting is done, the second stage is to convert it into compost. So you can do layering again. So you can take an old pot which has soil, depleted soil, and then empty the entire pot, and then put the same soil along with bokashi to enrich that soil. So you can put one layer of the depleted soil and put one layer of bokashi, again depleted soil. So you can do layers and then leave it for a few days, and then you can put any plant there, and with that rich source, I mean, amazing soil that it would have become, because so much of organic matter will be there, and that is like makes your plant also grow happily, and feeds you the best nourishment that you can ever want. Yeah, so that's the bokashi method, and you can go online and check out on all these, because there are a lot of videos on bokashi, and a lot of vendors who are selling bokashi buckets. So you can do your own research and find out which, because I have multiple systems. It's not like I stick to this. I have a garden waste composter also. There is a mesh bin that I put all my garden waste into that. So nothing actually gets waste. There's nothing like waste there. So you try to convert everything, because everything is organic matter and it needs to go back to soil, all break down, all of them are biodegradable. So it need not leave your home. So these are some of the things that we can do. And the last thing that I want to do is my favorite is first of all, you need to know how my compost looks. It's rich. You can see it's black gold. To me, this is even more valuable than my metal gold. I don't value metal gold at all, but this grows my food, and this is something that I just think that each of us have the ability to grow this. One handful of this rich soil, it has more microbes, millions of microbes. So you can imagine what thriving life, living soil that each of us are capable of making. And somewhere we just get lost and, look at things that are not good for our planet, and, what are not good. So this is regenerating, you're just getting the soil back to the natural conditions. And this is the black gold that I create. This is amazing. And all of us can do that at home with very little knowledge that we need to do. It's just keep experimenting, then you get the experience, and then bang, you're doing it for life. Because this is one action you can take every day to mitigate climate change, right? We are all talking about the greenhouse gases and all kinds of things and all that. So just by doing this action every day, we are actually doing something positive for the environment, something that we are contributing positively to the changes that are happening globally. So we can it's available to all of us, and all of us can do. Now I'll just take you through the worm composting. How do you do vermicomposting at home? This I have been doing for quite a time now, and this is something that I am very fascinated. So I'm just showing you a demo box so that you understand what are the process. This is a demo box, and I have first made a layer. This layer is called the bedding for the worm bin. The worms are they are a little sensitive. They are not the earthworms that are found in soil. These are composting worms. They are red wrigglers, and these are the beautiful creatures. You can see them here. They are amazing because they digest our food, and what they excrete is what we are looking for, because that what they excrete is the castings, which is so high and rich in nutrients. And this is what every farmer wants, his farm full of life and the earthworms. Farmer's best friend is earthworms, and these are the ones which till your soil. They keep burrowing in and up and come up, and they give these amazing castings. So we are looking for that. So for urbanites, we don't have field, I don't have where to grow, so I can only grow in containers. So I make my own vermicastings, that is these amazing worms. So this process is very simple. You need to, the bedding material is nothing but soak some dry cow dung, mature cow dung. If you have cow dung which is like more than a month old, and that's dried up and it's completely broken down, that cow dung, you soak it in water. That is one part of the bedding material. And some coconut coir. We all in South India or North India, we all have coconuts. Indians eat a lot of, we break coconuts once in a while to, we get the fiber. So use the fiber, and also some cardboard that you can soak in water. So this becomes the bedding material. All these together become the bedding material. So you put all the bedding material inside, and then you introduce some kitchen scrap. So take some kitchen scrap and you bury it in the, so you take some kitchen scrap and you bury it. You keep it under and then cover it with the bedding material. So you keep doing this for a few days, and then you get the worms, because worms are bought. Or if you find worms in and around your house, you can pick them up and bring them. So they need a good environment. So that if suppose there are holes on top, it keeps them comfortable. It doesn't get very there's not too much of heat created, because it's a closed container. So they need some air. So we need that. And moisture is extremely important. It shouldn't be too wet again. And if it gets too dry, they can't breathe, because they breathe through the skin. And these worms need that moisture. So the bedding material is a moist material in which they dive, and then they come up and they eat along with the with the microbes, and the microbes and the worms convert your food matter into these castings, into rich castings. So what the worms don't like is too much heat. So if you put all your kitchen waste into your worm bin, then it's so high in nitrogen, so it generates a lot of heat, and that could make them suffocated, and they will all come out. So many times you see in rainy seasons also, they'll just all come out, because inside it's very stuffy inside the soil. So they'll all come out. So same way, or they'll be drowning because of excess water as they come out. So one of the reasons. And these worms don't like heat. They don't like too much acidic conditions. So if suppose you put too much citrus peels, they don't do well, or strong smelling like onion peels, garlic peels. So these are all things that we avoid. And you slowly build the bin. So you introduce them, you prepare the bedding for a fortnight or 10-15 days, and then you introduce the earthworms. They are available. People sell them. In Bangalore, we buy it at the Agriculture University or the Department of Horticulture. They sell it. So we buy it from them, and then we introduce the earthworms and make sure that you see they are defenseless. If ants come into your worm bin, they can't defend themselves. So you need to protect them. So you can keep a tub, keep a stand, and then keep your worm bin on top of that. So these are small things that you need to take care if you want to get that worm castings that you're looking for. And if you're starting to grow your own food, you need one part of your soil has to be, when you make a container soil, or when you make a container, whatever you put the soil, you put one part of vermicomposting, one part coco peat, one part regular compost, and one part of red soil. So this is the the components that we need to make a container soil, and then we grow whatever we want. So ultimately, what we are achieving is multiple. We are learning how to create something from waste, something good, and also trying to make sure that we live in harmony, and create all these microorganisms which are very important for the for us to sustain on this planet. The planet keeps going. We have no problem, but once you kill the life on this planet, the microbial life on this planet, we'll only depend more and more on chemicals, right from agricultural chemicals that you need, pesticides and other things. Plus we'll need chemicals to, we have to eat chemicals to keep ourselves also away from all this diseases. So we'll be swallowing medicines and all these things. So best is to keep a healthy life, get connected to nature, get connected to soil, touch soil. It keeps you so happy. I think that's the end of my demo presentation. I love doing this kind of, I just don't want to talk or show a slide. It is about, showing people practically what is possible, and, getting them to be excited about composting. That's my complete, mission in life, that we should be excited about creating this beautiful black gold. So yeah, Shikara, you can take over. We can ask any questions that's there. We can check on.
Yes, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, ma'am. That was a very wonderful, completely informative session. And I think everyone here agrees to what I'm saying. We have over almost 200 people on Zoom as well as on Facebook listening to you. And I was writing down everything that you were saying non-stop.
You have it recorded. You can go through it again.
Yeah, definitely. So, before we begin the Q&A, I just like to talk about the upcoming talks that we have. So you get a short break.
Okay, thanks.
So the
water
next,
break.
yeah, water break. Right. So the next tuning in chapter of Our Sacred Space is on permaculture plantation techniques by the founders of Aranya Agricultural Alternatives by Narsanna Sir and Padma Kopula ma'am. This is on June 6th, Saturday from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. On June 7th, we have a sustainable menstruation Zoom webinar with Katie Walking. She's the co-founder of EcoFem from Auroville. This is on June 7th from 6 to 7 p.m. And we have a natural living and DIY product workshop on June 13th by the Odd Gumnut Permaculture Farm. So this is going to be a 1.5 hour session. This is also from 6 to 7 p.m. So and I hope to see everyone back for these workshops. We have a lot of it lined up, and like we said, like when we started the series of tuning in, I hope you're all really tuning in and finding your connecting back to the nature. And so, ma'am, are you ready for the question and answer? There are lots of them.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
Shoot them.
Sure, definitely.
Because this is the best part of the session, because I get to actually look at what the doubts are. Because if I don't clarify those doubts, they still will be left with something that they won't be able to move ahead. So I just love this session of question answers. Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to start now. So Neha Govindan says, what about adding soil instead of leaves?
Yes, there are many people who practice that method. Perfectly fine, whatever works for you, as long as you're not throwing out those seeds.
Okay. Shashi Rekha says, cow dung should it be dry or wet? There are many types of insects in my composting bin. Is it fine?
Yes, cow dung, fresh cow dung is the best, because that's the highest microbial content that it has. The fresher, the better. Of course, your compost pile will have a lot of insects, because there is an ecosystem there. So it's perfectly fine. But if you find a lizard or a cockroach, you can just tap it and let them get out, and then fine. Maggots are also a part of the ecosystem. If you're comfortable with maggots, you let them be. If you're not comfortable, don't let the soldier fly get into your bin. That's it.
Deepa says, what is the proportion of browns, greens, microbes?
Well, there is not a proportion, but it's like you have to understand. Depends on what kind of browns you're putting, and what kind of greens you have, because it all depends on what you're eating. If it's highly moist food, like I told you, the vegetable peels, like fruit peels, like this muskmelon and papaya, they have lot of moisture in their peels. So it all depends on that. So I can't give you a proportion, but just go ahead and start putting, probably if you take one handful of wet waste, probably 3 handfuls of it's not a proportion I'm giving, but just give it a try. 3 parts of dry leaves, so that you have enough dry to put absorb the moisture. The whole thing is about getting the balance, and no proportion I tell you or anybody tells you will, because it all different conditions. In summer it will be different, in winter it will be very soggy, it will not compost at all. So it all depends on experimenting. So you go ahead, check out what is the balance. If you find it too soggy, you have not put enough dry leaves, right? So you put some more dry leaves and make it just enough. It should just be moist, not soggy and watery.
Okay. Can wet waste be added each day to the same bin over a period of time?
Yes. So it all depends on what size of bin you have. As I told you, some people, they can fill up the bin in 10 days. Heavy fruit eaters, salad eaters, they'll be generating so much of peels that they fill the bin faster. So it all depends on the size of the bin, the size of the container that you're using. You can have multiple containers. So you can have a tower, 3 containers, one over the other, or 3 buckets, one over the other, or whatever. So you become creative on what kind of bins you want. And as you start composting, you will learn what is the need for your family. So it's all with experience. It's experiential learning. Composting is not like something, a formula that you just take on and then bang, it comes off. No, it's completely experiential.
Can we add leftover food to our compost?
Yes, that I missed that good thing that was asked, because leftover food is something that is very dense because it's cooked. So when you start for the first time, I usually tell people to avoid leftover foods. But once you get a hang of composting, you can compost anything. So make sure that you have enough browns for that leftover food, and there is enough microbes to break it down. So even when you're turning, you will know if there is any point in that compost bin. Is there anywhere it's got compacted? Then you break it down. So that's why the turning is important in the first method. Second method, you don't even have to turn. The method that I showed you about the Swachhagraha, where we launched the brick has both coco peat and it has microbes in it. So it's not the regular composting bricks that you get. I mean, not composting, sorry, the garden bricks that you get, coco peat bricks. It's not that. It is the brick with some microbes. So it's called the compost maker brick. Yeah.
Harsha says, we don't get cow dung in Dubai. Are there any other alternatives?
I told you a little bit of curd. You can put a little bit of buttermilk, sour buttermilk. It can add on to that. Yeah. Or you come to India, pick up bricks and take it. It's the easiest, because these bricks are very easy to do. The compost maker bricks.
Lata says, your black gold is really amazing, ma'am.
Thank you. You'll just fall in love with it. It's like an addiction. Composting is an addiction. It's for life. And once you get going and create that black gold, you can never stop. Nobody can stop you.
Is lemon okay to add?
Yes, composting, I have added lemon, musambi, everything except my worm bin. Lemon can go in any kind of composting. There are people who say it could make it very acidic. We are not putting so much lemon. We put so many other things. So lemon is not a big part of our kitchen waste. So few lemons will not change the pH. The people are worried about if the pH is balance goes. It becomes very acidic. So we need the neutral one. It shouldn't be too alkaline or too acidic. Yeah.
Like Ananya here says, ma'am, I tried your first method of composting with sour buttermilk and dry leaves, but accidentally my pot got wet in the rain, and after a few days, it became very soggy and wet in the lower layers. It also smells now, so please suggest.
Yes. So one of the ways to repair that, you don't have to worry that you have to throw everything out. Just take a large sheet, a plastic sheet or old shower curtain or whatever you have. Spread the whole thing out, and shade dry. Don't put it in the sun. Shade dry it. and add some more. You can add some cocoa peat or some crushed. Always make sure your dry leaves are crushed. So crushed dry leaves, and then you turn it around, let it shade dry for some time, and then pick it up and put it back into your composting process. So the whole thing is to remove the excess water. That is why you should be very careful not to leave it out in the rain. One of the tips I gave you, make sure it doesn't get the rainwater in. And the second thing is, make sure you get the balance, not too wet, soggy. It should just be moist. So the browns, if they are less, then it becomes very soggy. The browns are right, then it becomes. So you keep trying. Now you did for the first time, so you know now what to do. Just shade dry it out for some time, maybe few hours, and then put them back into the compost by adding some more browns.
All right. Bindya here says, thank you for the very informative session. Any suggestions on keeping the compost bin indoors during winter to not stop the composting process?
If you're not in India, you don't have to worry, but some of the North Indian states have issues, Northeastern and all that. But I have no experience with this, so I don't know. They say, like I have my sister living in the US where the conditions are very cold. Of course, composting stops, but then she says after the winter is over, she opens up and everything is done. So somewhere something keeps happening, but maybe slow. It's extremely slow because of the weather conditions. Microbes are not active at that point of time because of the extreme cold.
All right. Aarti is asking, what are these worms called that you used in your last demo?
Oh, well, they are called the red wrigglers, and they are composting worms. They are not the earthworms which are found in the soil. Soil worms are deep burrowing. These are the surface worms which are specially used for composting. Yeah, home composting.
Okay. Dr. Meghna is asking, in the DIY bucket, how do we procure the liquid as it doesn't have a tap? Also, can we add dried flowers that is offered to the god and chai tea leftovers?
Yeah, you can add tea and dry flowers, definitely. But there is a confusion in a DIY bin for I didn't talk about a DIY in the anaerobic, the bokashi which had a tap. That's something you can build if you want to, but the regular bucket doesn't have any tap. The DIY bucket, you can take any bucket. I said you can take a bucket that's like a paint bucket or something, make small holes, and this is the DIY bucket that you can make yourself with a paint bucket. But that doesn't need a tap. Only the anaerobic method needs a tap. The aerobic method, basically you shouldn't be getting any liquid because you're trying to maintain the balance, the browns and the greens balance. It should be moist but not wet. Only when it gets too wet, that at the bottom you start getting liquid, or when rainwater gets in, the liquid comes. Otherwise, in an aerobic composting, you shouldn't be getting too much of liquid. It's only the anaerobic composting that I showed with a lid, that's called the bokashi. So there are 4 things. Please don't get confused between the 4 systems that I showed. One is the regular, zero cost with things available with the dry leaves and turning the pile. The second is the Swachhagraha method, where I told you about the brick. And the third is the anaerobic, which is the bokashi method. That's not aerobic method. And the last was the vermicomposting.
Okay, Parvati here says, we're inspired by your previous videos. I started my composting unit and bioenzyme. It's been 2 weeks now.
Very nice. Good going, Parvati.
Yeah.
Nice to hear.
And also, how do we store ready-made compost? If the ready compost dries up, how to revive it?
Right. So compost, basically a mature compost is ready for, feeding the soil. So that, you're giving nourishment to the soil, and the plants are also taking it whenever they want. So it's there available for the plants to take. But as it starts, getting older, the microbial, activity comes down. And if you can keep it moist, like spraying water once in a while, if you're storing it, it's fine. Don't let it dry out completely. See, the moisture is important, because without moisture, no living happens. If there is no moisture, there are no microbes. So you need them to be alive. You need to put that into that soil. This organic matter which has been converted, you need to put in. So make sure but you can keep it for a short while, not too long, not years together. So it best is to use as soon as you think it's ready for the plants to take.
All right. Last two questions. How to how to get rid of ants from compost bin?
Yes, ants are especially in summer, your compost bin will attract ants. So probably there are sections which are dry. They'll try to get in and nest. They could be trying to nest, and also they may be trying to look for some food. So if you're okay with leaving them alone, leave them. My friend Uma says, don't disturb them. They are, live and let live. So that could be one of your ways. But if you think that it bites you when you put your hand in and all, make sure that, you turn the pile so that, there is enough moisture. It's not dried out. And probably you can also keep it in a moat, like, in a tub and a stand, and so that ants don't go in. But then this is all part of the ecosystem. It'll attract ants, it'll attract fruit flies, it'll attract so many things. But then that's nature. We have to live in harmony with nature. So if that can be possible, then you don't have to worry about ants.
All right. Last question. How to separate earthworms from compost when it is ready?
Yeah. So right now I can't explain in detail, but the simple thing is, one of the things is migration. That the bin has a section. There is one section you start putting the earthworms and the food. The other section you don't. Once you have finished in this, then you start feeding the other section. So they migrate from under. So, there is a small cardboard in between, and they migrate to the others. So there is one migration method. Another is a mound method. So you spread on a sheet, you make small mounds on the sheet, and they don't like light. So they all dive at the bottom of the mound. They'll all be at the bottom of the mound. And then you pick up the castings and then take the earthworms and then put them back into, collect them and put them back into another round of composting. So there are different methods. So you can go to YouTube videos. You'll find lots of different methods to separate them. Even my YouTube channel, Vani Mufti, if you go, I have shown a few different types, especially, the cow dung method also. Put the cow dung right in the middle, they'll all get attracted. Not fresh cow dung, but old cow dung. They'll all get attracted. And then the whole, ball of cow dung that you have put in the middle will be full of earthworms, and then the remaining thing you can use it for your composting. So there are different methods that I have taken video and put, so you can go and have a look. Thanks for asking that.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. There were a few suggestions, requests here for you to mention your website for Swachhagraha and SWMRT. Can you please talk about that once again?
Yeah, it's SWMRT. You Google search SWMRT, Solid Waste Management Roundtable. That's our website. And then we have a Facebook page, Solid Waste Management Roundtable, as the Facebook page. We have an Insta account also, SWMRT. And then we have Swachhagraha website and also Facebook page. So please go, 2 bin 1 bag. So we have multiple things which showcase multiple things that we are doing. So please do check them out, and make sure you understand and learn more, and what kind of things that you can start in your own, wherever you are. Right now, one of our team members, Shanti, is in Siddipet, and she's doing an amazing job, getting all of them to put in systems, and they're doing a marvelous job. In fact, today she posted pictures, and we feel so proud, that we're making a big difference to even people outside Bangalore. And yeah, it has to be a movement. People all have to understand, they have to come together, and make a difference.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Yeah.
The best workshop we had till date.
Oh, thank you so much.
See you.
So happy. Thank you so much, our Sacred Space, for giving this platform for us, and we are very happy. Yeah, I hope your other workshops go very well, and more people get to do good things in life.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to everyone else, you can always message us on our Facebook handle. It's called as Our Sacred Space, or even Instagram, Our Sacred Space. We recently launched our website, which is oursacredspace.in. You will be able to see all this information in our website from now on. Also, for the upcoming events, please reach out to us on I'll be leaving the phone number here in the chat. It's not. You can reach out to us on this number and join in our next workshops. And yes, this recording will be available on YouTube in a couple of days, and we will post that up so you can always rewatch it whenever you want to.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone who came to this live session on both on Facebook, on our SWMRT Solid Waste Management Roundtable, and on the Zoom session. Thank you so much for all the efforts that you all took our sacred space, and let's keep this connection going. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.